Hello, you are watching New Vision TV News. I am Ruthi Naseje. Now we are coming to you from the New Vision newsroom, and this is what's coming up. Wondering where the Ugandan-made car, the Kura EVS, is? We have that news in around Uganda. We'll also give you the Sudan crisis in the news around the world. In our special report today, we'll show you how Ugandans in exile formed the government after the fall of Idi Amin. Now let's take a look at the fall of Sudanese Bashir. Joseph Kony, the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army, who caused havoc in northern Uganda for about 20 years, could also be facing his end following the fall of Omar al-Bashir, the former president of Sudan. And al-Bashir was Kony's main backer. The Uganda Dissidence Force was armed and trained by Sudani government in the 1990s. Sudan also provided Kony forces with safe havens, which made it difficult for Uganda forces to defeat the LRA. Occasionally, Sudan sent Antonov military planes to bomb parts of northern Uganda to provide cover for LRA. Now, reports have it that Kony was a frequent visitor to Khartoum. During his heydays, Bashir backed several rebel groups against Uganda. Among them were the Lord's Resistance Army, the West Nile Bank Front headed by Juma Oris, Uganda National Rescue Front led by Ali Bamuze, and the Allied Democratic Forces, for now incarcerated Jamel Mukulu. Now, following the defeat of the LRA in 2007, Kony came to Northeast Democratic Republic of Congo before relocating to Central African Republic following a raid on his camp by the Uganda Army. Recent intelligence reports indicated the Uganda rebel has been oscillating between Kar and Sudan. It is believed he has been living in Daf under the protection of Bashir's government. Let's go to Masindi district, where the High Court has dismissed a case in which a former soldier and a former President Idi Amin's regime had sued Hoima Catholic Diocese, accusing it of encroaching on his land spanning 273 hectares. The land in question is located in Kamgenzi village, Bohanika sub-county in Hoima district. Now, in 2001, Alai Dada dragged the diocese to court, challenging the manner in which it acquired the land title. He was accused the Uganda Land Commission and the Attorney General for giving out the land which he insisted belonged to him. Robert Rumba, Dada's lawyer, said that by the time his client went into exile in 1979, he was in the process of acquiring the land title. He added that when Dada returned to Uganda 18 years later, he found out the diocese had reportedly encroached on the land and established a brick-making factory unit. But the diocese argued that it was Dada who had encroached on its land. News from Mityana district. Residents and local leaders in Kakidu sub-county, Busuju County, Mityana district have resolved to adopt a self-help system which is Bulungi Wansi in order to improve sanitation in their communities. The resolution was announced on Wednesday. Students from Victory School of Beauty, Natete, visited the sub-county and cleaned various villages. Starting at Kakintu Trading Center, the students swept, slashed and collected garbage on streets and the corridors. Addressing the students, James Semago, the OC3 chairperson of Kakidu, commended them for the action. Robert Kasivante, the director of the school, said his students raised the money for the activity and transport. News coming in from Tororo District. Forum for Democratic Change President Patrick Oboya Moriat has been charged with 2 counts of disobedience by Tororo Chief Magistrates Court. He is accused of holding a meeting at Tororo Youth Center on Wednesday without first getting permission from police. The FDC leader is also accused of defying a police directive to vacate the venue where he held a public rally in Tororo town. He pleaded not guilty to both charges. Amoriat was later released on a cash bail of 2 million shillings and his sureties granted a non-cash bail of 5 million each. He is expected to return to court on the 13th of May. We go to Mukono district, where police officer David Sali has been charged with the murder of Ronald Sevume, whom he allegedly shot dead in Nagalma village In Mukono district, Sale appeared before Mukono Grade 1 Magistrate Mariam Naluja Semwanga on Thursday. Resident State Attorney Rachel Namtebi told court that Sale on March 24th murdered Sebulime while at Nagoje. Magistrate Naluja refused Sale to take any appeal before her court, saying he was being charged with a capital offense, yet her court had no jurisdiction. She remanded him to Luzira prison until April 30th. Sale is accused of killing Sebulime after the State Minister for ICT, Ida Nanta, reported to Nagaon Police Division headquarters about suspecting that she was being trailed. Closing off the news around Uganda is a story from Kasese district, where the residents of Kasenyi fishing village inside Queen Elizabeth National Park are living in fear after a roaming leopard mauled a 1.5-year-old baby. The child is said to have been left under the care of his siblings. John Sebukere, a resident of the area who claimed to have witnessed the attack, said the animal could have hid inside an abandoned house where it had earlier mauled a goat. He said residents tried to force it out of hiding but managed to flee as they called Uganda Wildlife Authority personnel to handle the matter. Queen Elizabeth National Park's Chief Warden, Edward Esalu, confirmed the incident and said he was waiting a detailed report from the field staff on what really happened. Cyrus Baluku, the area local council chairperson, said animals from the park have previously attacked residents, including one incident where buffaloes killed 2 residents. And that is it for the news around Uganda. Let us take a look at the news around East Africa and around the world.
Hello, you're watching News Around East Africa. My name is Lynn Komdisha. We start off with Kenya. A family in Shambelele village, Malava constituency, Kakamega County, is mourning the death of their daughter, who was allegedly murdered by her husband. The incident happened at the suspect's house in Eldoret, Ushan Gishu County, where the man is said to have stabbed the wife, identified as Kanali Monobe, on the neck using a kitchen knife. Neighbors say the couple engaged in a domestic fight that led the man to pick up a knife and stab his wife. In Tanzania, Tanzanian authorities have announced an outbreak of the mosquito-borne dengue fever in the commercial capital Dar es Salaam and Tanga region along the coast. Speaking to a local Tanzanian newspaper, The Citizen, Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Faustin Dugulile, said Dar es Salaam and Tanga regions have been found to have the disease. News from South Sudan. Pope Francis, in a dramatic gesture after an unprecedented retreat at the Vatican, knelt to kiss the feet of South Sudan's previously warring leaders on Thursday. The 82-year-old Pope, helped by aides, knelt with difficulty to kiss the shoes of President Salva Kiir, his former deputy turned rebel leader Riek Machar, and 3 other vice presidents. Now, Reuters reports that the 2 main opposing leaders and several other people in the room appeared to be stunned by the unexpected gesture. Here in Uganda, Uganda's Energy Ministry has opened the country's first biogas and renewable energy technologies demonstration site at Ndeje University in Luwelo district. The facility's renewable energy technologies include solar energy, wind power, briquettes, and biogas. News from Burundi. At least 36 Burundian rebels have been killed by the DR Congo Army in a South Kivu operation. The operation targeted positions of Burundian rebels of the National Forces of Liberation and Republican Forces of Burundi, according to a provincial army spokesman. You're still watching New Vision TV. We take a look at what's making headlines around the world. We start off with the new developments in Sudan. The head of Sudan's Provisional Military Political Council has said that the army has no ambition to hold the reins of power and stressed that they are ready to step down as early as a month if a government is formed. Addressing a news conference in the capital, Khartoum, Omar Zain Abidin said today that the 2-year transition period can be as short as 1 month if managed without chaos amid demands for a civilian-led government. He said that they guarantee the new government will be run by the civilians without the military. He added that the military acted to remove now former President Omar al-Bashir to meet the demands of the people and called for civilized and peaceful dialogue to address the economic and political issues facing the country. News from Seoul, North Korea. In one of the biggest leadership shakeups in years, North Korea named a new nominal head of state and a new premier and gave leader Kim Jong-un a new title. State media reported Friday. Moves analysts said solidify Kim's grip on power. In an attempted move, Kim Jong-un was re-elected as chairman of the State Affairs Commission at a session of North Korea's rubber stamp legislature that took place on Thursday. We continue to follow reports from Tripoli, Libya. Gunfire and blasts echoed through downtown Tripoli in the wee hours of Friday as the eastern Libyan LNA force pushed against the forces of the internationally recognized government around the disused international airport and the Ain Zara district. Fighting between the eastern force of General Khalifa Haftar and troops loyal to the Tripoli government of Prime Minister Fayez al-Sarraj has displaced 9,500 people in the capital, and this is according to the United Nations. News from Pakistan. A powerful bomb ripped through a marketplace Friday morning in southwestern Pakistan, killing 18 people and wounding 48 others. Police officials said an explosive device planted in a shop caused the blast in a Shiite Muslim-dominated part of Quetta, the capital of Baluchistan province, and members of the minority community were among the victims. There were no immediate claims of responsibility for the violence in the Hazarganj market area, which has experienced such attacks in the past. From the USA, in retaliation for Democrats' failure to support his plans to build a southern border wall, U.S. President Donald Trump proposed twice in November and February that government agencies transport and release detained immigrants in so-called sanctuary cities, according to a report. Sanctuary cities are municipalities where local laws protect undocumented immigrants from deportation or prosecution despite federal immigration laws. And that was news around East Africa as well as news making headlines around the world. Now we take a look at our Daily Pearl of Africa series.
Thank you, Lynn. And in our Daily Pearl of Africa series, we look at the beautiful Lake Bunyonyi. Imagine being abandoned on an island surrounded by the deepest lake in Uganda. Reason, you got pregnant before marriage. This was the culture of a Ugandan tribe, the Bachiga, who used to let such girls die of hunger or even drown as they crossed to the mainland from the punishment island found on Lake Bunyonyi. Join us as we explore Lake Bunyonyi.
Lake Bunyonyi lies in the southwestern part of Uganda in districts of Kisoro and Kabale. The view of this lake has got romantists visiting it each and every now and then. Its fresh water has attracted so many people, regardless of tribe, culture, nationality, to at least spend most of their exciting days of the year at its shores. Bunyonyi's shores are incredible. The sight will leave you speechless. The fancy lodges built around on every island, and the trees giving you the shade that you require. Tourists live with unforgettable memories. The 29 islands on this lake are concentrated in its central part. Punishment Island holds a rich history that will interest you when you spend a few days at Lake Bunyonyi. The history that lies on the Punishment Island, which is also called Akampene, will never be erased from the hearts of several Bachiga families. Many of their sisters, daughters, and potential wives were left to die here. because they got pregnant before marriage, something that was similar to being blasphemous in their earlier times. Cruel as it sounded, it was culture that taught many to be patient. Like here the Bachiga girls of today, this practice is no longer practiced. Lake Bunyonyi is a perfect place to relax since it will offer you various activities to engage in. These include swimming, canoeing, boating, island hopping, hiking, biking, birding, nature walks, bathing, and village visits. Being one of the deepest lakes in Africa, swimmers never see it as a hazard to exercise their swimming skills.
Now for more Pearl of Africa stories, visit our website, which is newvision.co.ug/Pearl of Africa. Our paper, the Sunday Vision, is also another home of adventures. Grab your copy every Sunday for Pearl of Africa series. Let's speak business in the Handshake with Lynn Komjisha.
So very soon we are going to have a new budget for the financial year 2019-2020. And our budget so far has hit 40 trillion Uganda shillings. I have with me Paul Bushorezi. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We are still on about the budget discussion. Paul, the last financial year it was 39?
32.
Oh, what? Okay, from 32 to 40.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Well, I read the minister's proposal, and he pushes it to 40 trillion. 40 trillion because he says that we've got new resources for oil roads and tourism roads. Those are roads that are going to have to start construction or design or conceptualizing in the next year, and that is going to be the added money that will be put on top as a part of. It's not entirely all of it, but
okay,
a lot of that is going to be a major kick in pushing the budget to 40 trillion.
Wow, this is interesting. I'm wondering how much of this is real money, since URA is going to collect half of that.
Yeah, this year, in 2018-19, URA is expected to collect 16 trillion.
Yep.
I don't know what the projections are for URAs in 2019-2020, but I suspect it could get to 20.
Yeah, it is 20 trillion.
So 50%. Is going to be revenue collected. The rest we shall borrow locally and externally.
We are always borrowing, and everybody's been complaining that we are hitting that dangerous zone.
Yeah, well, there are certain things that have to be done.
Paul, you always tell me that, that we need to borrow, yes, to survive, yes.
Not to survive, but to do certain things that must be done. Look, what people forget is that in 1962, when independence was attained, we were about 7 million people.
Right.
In 1986, when the movement came to power, the population had doubled to 14 million. But in the meantime, between let's say about 71 and let's just say 86, nothing was being, no new roads were constructed, no new universities were constructed, no new hospitals were constructed, a lot of things, but the population doubled. So the needs of this population, we were behind. We were, how do you call it? We were almost being rounded, if you're in athletics. They were coming around the pitch the second time. So what is happening now is we're on an accelerated course. Because as I said, 1986, look, 62, 7, 86, 14, now 40. We've almost tripled our population in the last 30 years. So these guys, they need to go to school, they need roads to trade their goods and to get around. They need jobs. They need. So we are playing catch up. It's kind of an uncomfortable situation to be in. But you can't say, okay, everyone, stop. No more kids. If we could do that, by the way, it would be ideal. You just stop everyone and say, guys, stop until we tell you to start again. Then we continue. But you know, it's not going to happen.
Oh.
If you could have kids during the mean days, imagine. Now in the good times, what's happening? It's getting out of control.
Paul, that wouldn't be my problem. My problem is, do we have the capacity to pay back? Or are we just making our kids slaves of the future?
No, you see, when people make that argument, they miss one thing.
What?
So, if you look back, okay, let's start like this. a lot of this money is going to investments of infrastructure like roads. And you've seen it even in our neighborhoods.
Oh,
when you tarmac the road, suddenly economic activity which you never thought of just turns up. There are bars suddenly, there are hostels and apartments and everything. So this infrastructure will trigger these developments, and those developments will be taxed. People are concerned about whether we can pay the tax because they're looking at how much we are collecting now.
Yes.
But if, and I think there's good reason to believe that, like especially the roads, they're actually being laid out. If those roads are laid out, power generation is done. Hopefully one day the railway comes online. Security continues to remain, proper. The tax we are paying now, we'll be looking back and saying, you guys, you're only paying 20 trillion in tax. Because remember, in 1986, the government was collecting, at that time, 5 billion shillings. I don't know any ministry, and there's no ministry in Uganda today which will operate on 5 billion shillings. But those days, they used to collect tax of 5 billion.
The whole country?
Yes, the whole country.
But
so now we want to collect 20 trillion, which is how many times more? 400 times more. So, have no fear.
I really have no fear. But what are the implications, Paul? At this point, yes, for borrowing, for both borrowing and for this 40 trillion shillings.
No, I think by the way, we are right to be concerned that we are borrowing. What the implications are is that if you borrow this money, you have to use it properly, because if you don't, and those roads are not laid, then you're really going to suffer when it comes to repaying those loans.
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying people should not be concerned, but they should be concerned at what the money is being spent on. If we start spending on hotels, okay, they bring money, but government should not be in hotel business. Cosmetics, booze, then we're losing the plot. But as long as we're building dams, we're putting down roads, we're laying down roads, we're beefing up our security and all that, I think we have a good chance.
We have a good chance.
Yeah. We'll be here in 10 years' time on the Handshake, and I'll tell you, see, I told you.
It will probably be something else.
What will it be called?
Don't ask me. But yes. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Now, many people associate the fall of Idi Amin on 11th April 1979 with the formation of the government that replaced him. In our next episode, New Vision TV brings you the second part of the formation of Uganda's government on foreign soil, with the infighting among the exiles at Moshi and the intrigue in Dar es Salaam.
Ndugu ya Uganda, Uganda ndugu ya Tanzania, Nyerere alisema kuamini.
Most people associate the fall of Idi Amin on 11th April 1979 with the formation of the government that replaced him. In this episode, we look at Mwalimu Nyerere's influence and interests that finally determined the composition and leadership of the Uganda government in exile at the time. 48 years after the fall of Idi Amin's regime, New Vision TV brings you the second part of how the next government was formed on foreign soil, with the infighting among exilees in Moshi and the intrigue in Dar es Salaam.
Ikawafunja miguu na vichwa, kukurupa, mkongopa, amasomye, babara, tabu imefika hii mapokani na kuja, wanongoa filamu.
Professor Talsis Kawejere was the convener of the meeting of exilees in the northern Tanzanian town of Moshi. He recalls how the whole thing got off to a rocky start among the politicians, while the combatants, like 33-year-old Yoweri Museveni, tried to impress upon them the urgency of reaching a consensus.
After he opened the meeting and addressed them, and with these people raising point of order, point of information, and so on, I said, let's have a conference chairman. That's when we elected Nyanzi.
Kawejere is quick to admit that the Moshi conference was not about democracy.
It was not a representative, if you want. It was not a democratic meeting where you... No. It was an emergency meeting, and that's why it was the front, and it was supposed to open ground for the future of Uganda. And I'm glad that since then we have made significant steps in ensuring that we have a Uganda that we can be proud of.
From his Dar es Salaam base, ex-President Mityana had taken it for granted from his friendship with President Nyerere that he would automatically become the leader after the fall of Amin. He was therefore angered by the idea of the Moshi conference to bring together Ugandans and try to kill it before it took off. But the other Ugandans were determined to play part in shaping Uganda's future after Amin, and using their contacts in Tanzania, they prevailed and the meeting took off with Obote not as a delegate, though he was well represented by his supporters, including his party vice president Paulo Muwanga, who was later to organize the December 1980 elections that ended in Obote's favor.
When we started thinking of the conference, Obote sent the late Adoniat Perondo to ask me, why? Who are you? Why are you doing this? What is all this?
What's the convener?
Yes, as convener. In fact, I can tell you this, as external examiner in the University of Dar es Salaam, that March I was supposed to have been there, but I was stopped from going there, which means Obote had tried to get me not to have to access, but Mwalimu and his intelligence knew what we were doing and we were in touch anyway also, because we had people there like Omaria, like the late Tekere Jaru, who knew also the inside of a man like Kitini, who was the director of intelligence. We were also in touch, you know. So being acceptable is history. The meeting took place anyway. And I'm glad I was associated with it in the way I was.
When the Moshi meeting got underway, President Nyerere delegated his foreign minister then, Benjamin Mkapa, to oversee the process. Satisfied that the Ugandan exiles were on the right track, Mkapa then declared to the Ugandans that they were now cleared to form the government of Uganda in exile. Mwalimu Nyerere was conscious of the deep resentment Ugandans in the central region, where Kampala, capital city, is found, harbored against his friend Milton Obote. So he communicated his suggested candidate, a Muganda he had known from academic circles and was then working for the Commonwealth in Africa, Professor Yusuf Chironde Lule. Although most delegates found Lule acceptable because he was not associated with active sectarian political groupings, two men, Paulo Muwanga and Martin Alika, also insisted on standing. Muwanga and Alika were roundly rejected, and Lule was unanimously selected as president of Uganda weeks before Amin was overthrown. With the new president identified, the Ugandan exilees then formed different commissions under the Ugandan National Liberation Front, and they moved to Dar es Salaam, where, working directly with President Nyerere, they finalized the new government. Moshi Conference convener Professor Talsis Kawejere became Minister of Lands. Paulo Muwanga was chairman of the Military Commission, while the 33-year-old Yoweri Museveni became Minister of Defense. Soon after the fall of Kampala city, Yusuf Lule flew into Uganda to take office. He was aged 68 years and ruled for 68 days.
That's all we had for you. Thank you for watching. Be sure to catch more news updates and other programs here on New Vision TV by visiting our website, which is newvision.co.ug. You can also follow us on social media. Facebook is The New Vision. Twitter is @NewVisionWire. Instagram is @NewVisionWire. And our YouTube channel is New Vision TV. Catch up with me on my Twitter handle. I am Ruth, the Voice.